Good morning. There, look at Tom running the controls. Love it. So this is the part of the day that you probably get anxiously excited about, where we're going to solve all your problems right here, right now. Boom, 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 and away you go. Everything's perfect. If only. We're a little different here. We're renegades. You probably heard that. And as renegades, we think of things a little differently. We think of it as a situation where we're trying to help you make an incremental move forward. One step, maybe two steps forward. Not the huge leap, because the reality is very few of us make huge leaps. It's a bunch of little steps. I'm Bob Graham, that's Tom Brush, and this is today's Antidote for Monday, June 15th. Boy, time is flying, Tom, huh?
That's crazy. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that taxes. I don't know. A bunch of people were talking about taxes this weekend. And, you know, when they changed the date, I was like, oh, I got all this time. Well, now there's like a month left. I'm like, now I'll start to panic again.
Yeah. Yes. And it's funny you bring up taxes, because that has been something that's been a consistent thing April 15th for every year. And suddenly this year, they moved it to July 15th because of the pandemic, which makes perfect sense. But I have talked to, I'm going to guess conservatively, 20, 25 people who just have completely let go of the concern for their taxes because, see, I'm going to do this. Watch this. It's beauty. There's a lack of consistency. Ding, ding, ding. And that's our topic for the week. We're going to talk about consistency. And you may say, I don't care about consistency, or it's impossible for me to be consistent right now because there's so much upheaval, there's so much confusion, there's so much changing rules, changing health issues, all of it's going on around me, and I can't be consistent. But I would posit to you right this moment that this is when consistency is even more important than ever. What are your thoughts, Tom?
Absolutely. You know, I think it's
absolutely. All right, folks. Show's over.
That was a great thought.
You're killing me.
No, I would. I mean, I always think consistency is important. I think you continue to do the same things, or at least you have the same effort. You will start to see the results. You know, as you were talking about it, I got thinking about LinkedIn and, you know, our social media in general. Is that once you can't do it occasionally and really have any sort of a presence. And for the last probably 3 months, I've been fairly consistent about when I post. And because of that, and some other things that I've done along with that, I've seen the number of views and comments and engagement with that grow and expand. And I don't think you would get that with a random post here, a random post there, or any sort of plan around it. So I think that's just an example of, if you continue to do it, you continue to put your messages out there, you will start to gain traction with that message.
I think that makes perfect sense, Tom. It's funny how difficult it is for people to understand the need to be consistent. But I have found when I get into a routine, consistency in what I do at certain times of the day, getting up at the same time, eating at the same time, doing this program at the same time. Last week, it's kind of funny. We should have done the thing about consistency last week because we changed our start time and there was a lack of consistency. But now here it is after doing it for a week, and I feel very comforted in knowing at 8 a.m. I'm doing a certain thing. And there are things that jump into my day. Like this Friday, I have a conflict at 8 a.m. But I know, I'm sorry. What can I do? You know, I'm busy. You gotta go where the money is, man.
It's not here.
That's a level of consistency that I'm striving for more of. And the thing about consistency is, I find for me, when it breaks down, it's usually self-generated. You know, I am in control, just like I'm in control of my thoughts. I'm in control of my consistency. And so often when I look at when things are going wrong, it's because I do not have any consistency. And Another way to put that is I love to chase the bright, shiny objects. Tom will bring up at this point, my love of bots and my desire to build out bots. And I took us on a nice little escapade of bots maybe 2 months ago for a little while. I'm coming back to it. It's going to be huge. You mark my words.
I'm going to write that down.
And it's not to say that you can't do other things. Because one of the things I think people often hear when we go at consistency is, well, I don't want to become a robot. And see how I did that? Bots to robots. I don't want to be a robot and do the same exact thing every day. That sounds like factory work. But that sounds like industrial revolution stuff where everyone's doing the same thing. I'm putting widgets on the machine or eating the chocolates like Lucy and Ethel. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about knowing what you need to accomplish and being specific about it. And also, the other part of it is tracking the results of those efforts.
Right. Well, I think the other thing about it is that consistency doesn't mean you're doing the same thing every day. It means you're committed to this, that I'm going to spend this time focused on this. Doesn't mean that I have to do it exactly the same day after day after day after day after day after day. So in reality, what we were consistent with last week is that it was a weekday and we did the show. And I think sometimes we put, and we'll probably talk about this later this week, the challenges of consistency and of having it being too specific. And so to me, it's just about, are you committed to something that you are going to repeat in a way that is most beneficial at the time, knowing that that could change over time? And there might come a point where you're like, LinkedIn isn't the appropriate platform anymore. So I'm going to get off of that and I'm going to switch to Periscope. And that's going to be the new platform that is going to make the difference. But
you're pulling a platform from 2018 out. Come on, Tom, you got to be TikTok. That's what the kids talk about today. TikTok.
No, not going there. No, at least not yet. People are, oh yeah, this is the new business platform. I'm like, struggling with that. Anyhow, but I think it's the commitment to getting your message out. And I think that's the funny thing about how consistency ties into goals, is it's not necessarily how you do it, it's why you're doing it. And what are you trying to, and how are you consistent in figuring out what's the most effective way to reach that end goal? Because it's going to change. Again, we were on a great path and you could have been really consistent with, I'm going to networking events in person, 3 times a week. Okay, that was great until 3 months ago. Geez, maybe it's been 4 months ago. Now you can still be consistent about how you engage and connect with people. And it just needs to be different. How you do it is a different way.
Can you pop the comment up?
I can. It's from Gene.
I like a butterfly flitting from place to place. I love anyone who uses word flitting in the morning. That's beautiful writing. Thank you, Gene, for that. And getting nothing done. I feel like a butterfly flitting from place to place and getting nothing done. I noticed it was bad last week. So I think that butterfly image is really great. I was watching some butterflies over the weekend and they just go in random motion. There's no direction to it. Whereas if you watch a hawk or a crow or a bird fly, they seem much more guided towards an objective, whether it's an insect or a plant or following the wind current, something. And I think that idea of the butterfly, well, butterflies are beautiful to watch. I can tell you, taking a picture of a butterfly, not very easy. And I think we have that butterfly issue often because we're not sure what we're doing. And I think because we're in a time of great change, it's very easy to throw the consistent things that you did that mattered to you out the window and think that you have to start everything brand new because it's not working. So the networking example you gave, I was going to networking events, I was having great success meeting people, and that was leading to business. Well, there are no longer those in-person networking events. rather than try to replicate and be consistent with what the intent was. Someone would go, well, now I'm going to do direct mail, or I'm going to shoot a really big video and put it up on YouTube or Facebook ads. And Tom, I think you and I can both agree that Facebook ads are the big answer to all problems right now, right?
I don't know the answer to that. I think, well, and I think
well, we had so much fun playing around with it Friday. Talk about flitting around like butterflies.
And I think it's one of those things, though, that if it's making a decision to be consistent with that is what it is. You know, if you're going to do Facebook ads or you're going to do direct mail now because you can't be out in person, you can't send one piece out and assume that it's going to be like, oh yeah, that's going to solve all my problems. What is my consistent message that I am going to either put out in an ad, put out in email marketing, put out in direct mail? Because that one time is not enough. It's not going to resonate with enough people. There needs to be some consistency of, oh yeah, you know, how many times do I drive by or watch an ad on TV? And it builds in my head and builds in my head and builds in my head. And it either drives me absolutely nuts. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to that business. Or sort of like, they keep saying they have great wings at this restaurant. And I hear it over and over and over. What am I probably going to do? Eventually, I'm going to be like, I need to go try it to figure out whether they are really great or they're not. And I just need to move forward and know that I don't have to listen. But that consistency of being in front of me piques my interest.
And the other level of consistency is like with this program that we do. The topics change from day to day, week to week, but the consistency is what we're trying to accomplish. I don't think anyone could drop in here 2 months ago and then today, those being the only 2 days they listen and go, wow, these guys are totally different. You know, we're not talking about sports one day and art museums the next. We are very consistent with our messaging, which to you, the person watching or listening, believe it or not, that gives you comfort. It gives you solace. If we suddenly said, hey, it's Monday, let's talk about the last Friends episode you watched. Tom, what are your thoughts about Ross and Rachel? Should they have really gotten together? Was he really on a break? You'd be going, first of all, why does this guy know so much about Friends, which is a whole nother story. That sounds like a good breakfast in the background today.
Yeah, absolutely.
The microwave's going? What do we got going today, Tom?
Not sure.
I always like when the background noise turns Tom's face red when I mention it. But we are consistent with what we do, and that gives the other people consistency, a feeling of comfort. And so when we start to change our brand radically, to throw a little marketing at you, that lack of consistency causes us problems. So if you were upbeat about the thing that comes to mind, I can't say, but let's say you were upbeat about the need to use organic pesticides on your lawn. I don't know if you can have organic pesticides, organic solutions to get rid of weeds. Okay. And you've talked about that at networking events for 2 years. Right. Suddenly you go, you know what? I'm just going to put non-organic stuff on lawns. And you tell people it doesn't matter anymore. And that lack of consistency erodes our trust in you. Because, Tom, for 2 years you've been talking this way, and now, Tom, you're talking the other way. Which are you?
Well, I think that's the thing is you have to, you can do it because you can always change. You just have to realize, you just have to realize that might not stick with people. Because for 2 years you've been providing one message, and now you have to, again, be consistent with that new message to say, this is what I'm now doing, because they ingrained in their head is this is what we're doing. You know, International House of Pancakes. They have had the same name for forever, and now they wanted to get rid of it. And people are like, well, are you not going to make pancakes anymore? So now you've created some confusion, and so now they just need to figure out. And again, over time, those things will eventually work themselves out, and people will understand the new brand, or they won't, because they won't like it or they won't be happy with it, and move forward. But if you were always jumping around, You know, like if one week you came into a networking event and you're talking about this, and the next week you're talking about, oh, here's my new thing, and the next week you're talking about, oh, I got something new. People are like, what is going on? You know, who are you and what are you trying to promote, and how can we network? And I know what you're doing so that I can maybe connect you to somebody else.
Or if you're doing videos every day that are all over the place.
Right.
You know, one day you're a relationship coach, and the next day you're a LinkedIn expert, and the day after that you're able to, you know, solve someone's problems with their teenagers.
Right.
That would get confusing. That's where everyone says niche down over and over and over, a phrase that we always hear but we don't understand. It's not that they don't want you to be able to do all those things. It's they want you to be consistent, and they want you to drive towards something specific. Don't worry about it, Tom. You don't need to mute it. We love having the background music. You know, the sound of breakfast at the Brush House is one of the highlights of my week.
Well, I think that, you know, one of the things about it, like, again, it's okay if that's what you want to do. It's just you can't expect that people are going to understand what your message is.
Right.
You know,
and if
it doesn't, not saying that you can't do those things, it just makes it harder for people to, you know, when they're thinking about, who's the person that I could connect you to? And you don't really know, well, they said they did this, but now they do this. And, you know, so I think it's hard. I think it's just hard. And I think that's, again, any message with any company. If if a company was out talking about one thing and now they're adding a new component, people aren't just going to be like, oh, okay, this is the new piece of it. You're now my expert on this. They're going to take a while to figure out, you know, how does this all fit into who you are and what you're doing as an organization.
Right. I saw an ad over the weekend for a water remediation company. And then below it was called like blah, 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 water remediation or something. And then below it, it said, we now do pest management. And the ad was all about pest management. It's like, wait, your brand is water management. And now you're doing pest management. And my wife said to me, do water problems bring pests? I was like, I don't know. But we were very confused by that brand because it wasn't consistent. And that's where names get into trouble. But we'll go down a long marketing road, and it's too early in the day for that.
Correct.
So, Tom, what's the one thing we can do besides join the Ring of Renegades, our Facebook group, for people who are interested in learning more, working with other people, just really getting the information and resources they need to make dramatic improvement in this complicated climate, to see the solutions to the problems? What's the one thing today?
I think the one thing is because we're talking about what is consistency, is not confusing consistency with just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. That consistency is, you are taking, you know, think of it broader as you are taking certain steps that could change to try to achieve your goal. And you're staying consistent that that's your goal. That here's what our end goal is. Sometimes the steps may change, but the end goal is to try to get to this point. And that by committing to that, you will stay consistent to that goal. And I think it would be helpful for other people and yourself to be clear about what you're trying to do.
I like that, but it got complicated. I'm going to give people a real simple solution, which is...
You always do that.
Look around you and see who you know who's consistent with something. And really zero in on who that person is and what that consistency is. Because I think when you start to see it in other people, consistency is very comforting, so we just accept it to be. But when you look at that, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. So for instance, every weekday, I make oatmeal and coffee for breakfast. Every weekday, it's been for probably 4 years. It's just my go-to. It's easy. And when I travel, I make oatmeal and get coffee at Starbucks every time I travel. It's just easy. That consistency makes me know that when I'm going to be hungry, except when I hear the clinking of glasses behind you and I know that there's good breakfast being made. But just look for that consistency, whether it's in you or whether it's someone around you, because you will realize, you'll start to see how important it is to their success. And I think when we see it in others, we see the opportunity in ourselves. So with that, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today. We covered a whole bunch about, Peter asked a great question. I'm going to take that question. Is consistency the same as the habit? I think that's a great question, Peter. And you know what? We're going to tackle that first thing tomorrow. So you'll have to come back tomorrow. Like how I did that?
I like it. Peter might not like it.
That's right. And Peter's got a really cool thing. I don't know what that is on his little Facebook thing. I can't make it out from here.
It almost looks like a butterfly, but it's hard to tell.
Maybe it is because we were talking about butterflies. Is he that kind of topical guy? I don't even know how to do that. Well, folks, it's been a great start to the week. We will be back tomorrow where we will start with Peter's question. Is consistency the same as a habit? And we'll go from there. And Peter replies with well played, which is, he knows me way too well. Have a great day, everyone.
Everyone go out and make it a great day. We will see you back here tomorrow.